Okay. Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody. We acknowledge the land upon which we work and live, the First Nations and their nations, and recognize their connection to the land, water, community. We could continue to learn, listen, and grow together. After saying that, I'll welcome everybody. I'll call the meeting to order and approve of the agenda, please.
Be it hereby resolved that the agenda for the August 5th, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted as printed and circulated.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Banbury, second by Councillor Demarest. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Not seeing any. And minutes for July 8th.
Be it hereby resolved that the minutes of the July 8th, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted as printed and circulated.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Young. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Any business arising from the minutes? Oh, I'm not seeing any. There's quite a few people here that are for our noise bylaw, which is 10A. So I'm going to move it up to the start because some of our other stuff in the meeting is going to be, could be lengthy, possibly. So I'm going to move it up, and we'll do that first. And if, Kevin, if you want to present that, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Before you this afternoon is report DC 2610 regarding a request from Froze Excavating Limited for an exemption to the township's noise bylaw in relation to construction activities for the Bloomfield Estates development in Drumbo. The request is for construction activities to begin at 6 a.m., 1 hour earlier than currently permitted under the township's noise bylaw. Under the township's noise bylaw, council has the authority to grant or refuse exemptions and may impose any conditions it considers appropriate. Staff have therefore brought the request forward for council's consideration and direction. In accordance with the bylaw, public notice of the request was provided through the township's website and social media, giving residents an opportunity to submit comments before council considered the application. As outlined in the report, the applicant has advised that the earlier start time is intended to facilitate the safe and efficient completion of critical construction activities, improve coordination with utility companies and subcontractors, reduce impacts on traffic and surrounding infrastructure, and minimize the overall duration of the project. Since the report was prepared, the applicant has also indicated that they wish to highlight 3 additional considerations for council. An earlier start would reduce travel time and associated environmental impacts for construction crews. It's expected to shorten the overall construction schedule by approximately 1 week, and that beginning work earlier in the day provides greater flexibility to protect workers during extreme heat events by allowing crews to finish earlier when heat warnings are issued. The applicant has also reaffirmed their commitment to minimizing impacts by maintaining equipment, avoiding unnecessary idling, and limiting excessive noise wherever practical. As of the date the report was finalized last week, staff had received 28 formal letters of opposition and no letters of support. The concerns raised generally related to increased noise, vibration, dust, traffic, impacts on residents and nearby park users, potential precedent, and procedural concerns. As a verbal update to this report, since it was finalized, the Clerk's Department has received an additional 24 formal letters of opposition. As of 12 p.m. today, August 5th, staff have received a total of 52 formal letters of opposition and no letters of support. Should council deny the request, the existing provisions of the township's noise bylaw would continue to apply. If council approves the exemption, staff will notify the township's municipal law enforcement officer and Oxford OPP accordingly. And Mr. Mayor, that concludes my presentation. Staff will be pleased to answer any questions from council.
Any questions from council at all, or comments? I see any from anybody? I know personally for me, I've had many people call me, and I'm sure we all have as council, but I know personally for me, I'm not in favor of it. If it was possibly, asking for a week's time or something like that to maybe finish a project, to get it on time, but to set a precedence like this, we have several more that are going to be coming down the pipe over the years, and not just in this village, but all over the township. So I know personally for me, I'm not in favor of having it go forward, if that's council's decision. Okay. Yep, Councillor Demers.
Yeah, just to expand a little bit on what you said, I think the residents have spoken loudly about what their preferences are here. And, you know, as much as I'm very pro-business, the company knew about or should have known about our noise bylaw before they even started. So, and understanding, you know, in terms of scheduling, what that might mean. So I would agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not in favor of making a change either.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Yep. Okay. I would have been totally shocked if we had any in support of it, to be honest with you, but, okay, if you want to.
Be it hereby resolved that report DC 2610 be received as information, and further, that council deny the request for exemption from the provisions of the Township Noise Bylaw 2357-2023 submitted by Froze Excavating Limited in relation to construction activities associated with the Bloomfield Estates development.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Barnes. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll go back to our public meeting. Our first one is Sparks Drain. Over here. And you have a resolution for that.
Yes. Be it hereby resolved that pursuant to the provision of Section 52 of the Drainage Act, RSO 1990, as amended, Chapter D17, the Court of Revision, for the purposes of hearing appeals to the Sparks Drain, is convened at 4:06 p.m., and that council appoint Mayor Mark Peterson, Councillor Bruce Banbury, Councillor Darrell Barnes, Councillor Nancy Demarest, and Councillor Tina Young to serve on the Court of Revision for the Sparks Drain, and that Mark Peterson be appointed as the chair of the Court of Revision.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Young, second by Councillor Banbury. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. So I'll try and, this isn't something we do very often, so I'll try and read the process we're going to go through. If I'm wrong, I'll let you get me down the right track. So we've had no written appeals beforehand. So now I'm going to, I'll start off by, I'm going to get to the, if there's any verbal appeals that are going to come out of here. And then the engineer is going to provide evidence, I believe, if we have any. And then the appellants are present. They ask to wish to elaborate on their appeal. Then the engineer may rebut the landowner's case. And then next, the court members may ask questions, and then I'll give an opportunity to the affected assessed landowner to speak to the appeal. So that's kind of the process, and then if there is an appeal come through, then after we listen to it, then council here will leave and they will go to another room and they'll debate on what that is, and then they'll come back and give their answer on that appeal. Hopefully that's a little bit clearer how it's going to go. So I'm saying that, I'm going to ask those in attendance if there is anyone who has not filed an appeal and would at this time like to present a verbal or written appeal to the court. Yes, if you can come forward and state your name at the mic, please.
And we do have to pass a resolution to accept a verbal repeal.
Okay, so we'll have to pass a resolution to accept a verbal repeal. Appeal. You can come ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that the Court of Revision for the Sparks Drain accept verbal appeals at the hearing dated August 5th, 2026.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Banbury. All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, and you can go ahead.
Mayor Peterson and members of the council, my name is Lorraine Little, and I am the daughter of Eleanor Kestelut, one of the landowners affected by the petition for drainage for the Sparks Drain. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today on my mother's behalf. We are here today because circumstances created by actions taken on the Pinenberg property have left a new drain as the only viable option for my mother. When drainage from the tiled property was redirected onto her land, without her permission or consultation, her ability to influence decisions affecting her property was effectively removed. She is now being asked to bear the financial consequences of those actions she neither initiated nor approved. The key fact is that once the new drain is completed, my mother will not receive any greater drainage benefit than she had under her existing system. Any additional water conveyed through the new drain originates from the Pinenberg property, making them the sole beneficiary of the increased drainage capacity. They benefit not only from transferring excess water off their land, but also the resulting improvements to their agricultural productivity and income. My mother will receive no corresponding financial or operational benefit from the new drain. In light of these circumstances, we respectfully request that the proposed cost allocation be reconsidered and that greater weight be given to identifying and assigning cost base to the true beneficiary of the new drainage works.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we go to, okay, so now we go back to the engineer, right?
Engineer.
Okay, and I'll have the engineer come forward, please.
Okay, it sounds like it's on. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the court. Yes, at this stage, I will walk through what goes into doing the assessments for a Drainage Act report, specifically this Sparks Drain report. As it was outlined at the previous report consideration meeting, the total cost of the project is proposed as approximately $318,000. As we discussed at the last meeting with the provisional adoption of the report, that cost is fixed. So where we're at today is a total fixed cost, left to determine if the shares shall remain the same. So $318,000. What I've done for this sheet here, this is Appendix A from the report, and Appendix A is just the table. It is the calculation of assessments based on intervals. In order to kind of make a one-stop spot for all of the information to be, I've added the watershed plan and some other notes on here. So this table, if Kevin slides over to the right a little bit, 318,000 shows up in the bottom right corner of that table. That's the total cost of the project. So as we mentioned at the consideration meeting, we break the drain down into intervals when we're doing assessments. In this case, we have 3 intervals. The 3 intervals are identified there as the 3 columns. And if we back out, Kevin, for a second to see the map on the side, interval 1, the first interval, is the bottom end of the drain at the top of the page. And it starts at the Bremner Creek and continues up to past the pipeline, that's the yellow line, and up to the Township Road. The total cost of that interval is $175,000. That's shown in the column. Interval 2 goes to and past the road, past the Township Road, $95,000, and interval 3 is the work that's on the south side of the road and back again across the Township Road, and total cost of $48,000. So that is the breakdown of when we get the total cost. We split it in intervals and then start assessing from there. When calculating assessments, the first item we address is what we call special assessments, which are utilities that cause an increase in the total cost of a drain project. On this project, there is a pipeline crossing and 2 road crossings that otherwise the drain would be cheaper than $318,000 if the pipeline and the road crossings weren't there. The way the Drainage Act looks at it is the increased cost to cross those utilities, the pipeline and the road crossings, gets taken off the top right away and applied directly to the utilities at hand. So that is the first thing that we do. The total special assessments are around $64,000, so $31,000 in interval 1. If you slide over to the left a little bit, Kevin, there's $31,000, $31,220. That is the special assessment that goes to the Imperial Oil pipeline. In interval 2, it's around $20,000, $20,800 for the first road crossing, and interval 3, $12,215 comes off the top and goes to the other road crossing. So that leaves us as engineers, that would be $253,765 is left in assessments. So that comes off the top. It's pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot of consideration to be done there. Then when we do our assessments, we break it down into the terminology of benefit and outlet. You've probably heard me talk about this countless times, but for the group here, benefit are costs that lands that would receive a tangible benefit for the drainage improvement by the outcome of the drain. Properties, all properties that shed water into the drainage system that are part of the watershed pay an outlet assessment. Those who may be at the top end of a drain and the drain doesn't even reach them may just pay outlet. If you're on the drain and the drain goes through your property, you'll pay a combination of benefit and outlet together. That is the concept of the breakdown. When we start breaking down the costs, it's quite common to start at the bottom interval as like a 50-50 split of benefit to outlet. So I did target, if you slide up a little bit, Kevin, the blue numbers, or sorry, my mistake, down a little bit. There we go. The blue numbers are the ratios in each interval. 50% of the bottom interval is assessed as outlet. And as we increase upstream, there is less outlet because there's less outletting properties. It has to switch over to be more benefit, or else it's all on the properties at hand. There's less properties to pay into the share of assessments. So that's kind of an outline of what's there. If you go to the bottom right corner a bit more, Kevin, so the calculation right here. So calculations of benefit. So as I get into benefit, there are more or less, for my drains, I look at kind of three categories of benefit assessments. Improved direct outlet, all the red headings there, improved subsurface surface area, and improved drainage along the drain. So starting at number 1, improved direct outlet has historically just been a general lump sum number applied to all properties where the land is connected to the drain. That's applied as a $3,000 assessment. Do that almost on every drain I have. For this one here, roll numbers 01300 and 14505, those are the Pinenberg properties, receive a $3,000 direct outlet assessment. For 01400, the Kestelute property, I omitted the $3,000 assessment, and the reason why I omitted it is that they are basically at the cusp of the Bremner drain, and they more or less have an outlet themselves, even though there is not technically a true outlet there because the Bremner drain doesn't reach their property. I did omit the $3,000 because of that. Improved subsurface service area is generally applied for this job. I applied it at a $900 per hectare. That does change from job to job, but I used $900 per hectare here based on all the rest of the factors and costs I have. For all properties where tileable, it's not a real word, but land is connected to the drain. So for that, I exclude bush, land that wouldn't necessarily gain a benefit from this. So for this, if we look at the map a little bit more, Kevin, sorry about that. I've applied it to 6.3 hectares and 4.2 hectares on the property in the top right corner. You see a 6.3 bubble and a 4.2 bubble. They're right there, yeah. So that is, property is applied $900 per hectare at those two areas. If we go south of the road, the Pinenberg property in the south of the road, there is a 20 hectare bubble there. There is a 14.1 hectare bubble in the blue. Closer to the road, there's 1.8 and 1.1. Those are the total area, the total hectares that can be tiled or are tiled, applied at $900 per hectare. And then back north on the north side of the road, I applied the same rate to the 3.8 hectares, which is in a low hole over there. The 7.2 and 1.0 hectares, I applied at half the rate, $450. And it's, again, back to the same kind of premise because they are pretty much on the cusp of the Bremner drain and they can tile their drain, their land into the bush. I applied it, I chose to reduce it and apply it at a half rate. That's what I did for subsurface surface area. And then the last thing, sorry, Kevin, one more time, if we back out and go to the number 3 on my list. Down further, down a little bit, improved drainage along the drain. Generally applied to all properties where the drain crosses through the property, error there. This assessment is $1 per meter, generally attributed to the cost of the tile or the ditch. For roll number 05000, the Theed property, this is a $15 per meter for the ditch through the Theed property, that's $1,400. For the 01400 property, that's again $15 per meter for a ditch, $400 per meter, $400 total. For the Kesteloop property for tile, $75 per meter for the 675 millimeter diameter tile, and then I reduced it to $50 per meter for the smaller diameter tile. And for the Pinenberg property across the road, $40 per meter for a much smaller size tile, that's a 12-inch tile on their side, total of $11,500. Those are the principles that I use when I come up with all the benefit calculations. They get plugged into the spreadsheet in the benefit column. What is left then is assessing as outlet. Outlet's a very straightforward number, less subjectivity. There's no subjectivity, actually. Outlet is all on a per hectare basis with adjustments made for runoff generated by different land uses. So bush and wetlands are given a factor of 0.5 because bushes and wetlands retain water more than agricultural land. Gravel roads, a factor of 2 because water will shed off the road faster than it will anywhere else. And in this area, there are some depressional areas. Those were the blue areas on the map. And there I did decide to factor it down from other agricultural land. I factored it down to 0.75 because those, though water will still drain out of those areas, the topography makes the drainage slower and more of it will percolate into the ground. So all the other agricultural areas are kept as 1. 1 is the factor of 1. So ultimately, for outlet totals, the Theed property has no outlet charge to them because they have a direct outlet into Bremner Creek. The Kesteloop property, total outlet amounts to $27,257, and for the 2 Pinenberg properties, outlet is around $96,000. That kind of sums up the breakdown of how I do assessments and where I get to what I get to. I think some of the appeal was kind of stated already, so I think while I'm sitting here, maybe I'll just address it if it's okay with the court. One of the things that I do want to point out to the court is that I assess lands, not people. We assess lands, not people, not looking at past or current uses or what has been used for, but a cognizant like what a reasonable use is of a property. If a certain property that I'm taking a drain through is a full bush, it won't receive the same benefit as what a farmland does. But what I look at it as is farmland on the north side of the road and the south side of the road is the same type of land, is the same value, same benefit in my eyes when I'm doing the calculations, and that's how I have to do it. Did talk about this at one other quarter revision meeting, that though a farm isn't tiled into the system now, or said it won't be tiled in and therefore it doesn't benefit us, there's no guarantee that if a reduction is made from a court, or a reduction was made in my assessments when I did it because I was told that they're not going to tile into it, that it doesn't mean that as soon as it's done that the tiling can't just happen then. So I can't make decisions based on statements like that. I know that's not what was exactly said, but I just wanted to say that the assessments still have to be given based on the land as it is and the land the way it can be used. One final thing that I want to highlight, one of the overarching principles, these are all formula-based that I do here, but while I'm doing these calculations, I'm constantly looking at Schedule C, which is the net assessment that everyone has, the total net assessments that people have after grant and allowances come off. I'm always looking at that total, not just following calculations here. And that one of the principles that I kind of learned from Ken Smart was that if for all properties that receive an outlet from the drain, whether the drain goes through the property or just reaches the property, generally you've received an outlet. On the whole, we have different property sizes, but the dollars per hectare, if you equalize it per hectare, should be in the same range. Just an example off the top, if you have two 100-acre farms side by side. And the watershed splits one of the 100-acre farms where only 50 acres are in it. If the 100-acre farm has a $100,000 assessment and they both get full service of the drain, the 100-acre farm that's been split down the middle maybe would be appropriately have a $50,000 assessment. But the other half of their farm is in another drain watershed, and maybe 5-10 years, that drain will be done, and they'll have another $50,000 assessment into that. In total, they'll have the same total amount, but the guy who's been split by the watershed has been two different projects. Ultimately, at the end of the day, total net assessment per hectare is about the same. When I look at it here, I don't know if I have the numbers in front of me. So 01400 is the Kestelute property. That is $1,950 per hectare is when you take the total net assessment and divide it by the total hectares in the watershed. 14505 is the Pinenberg property across the road. That is $1,860 per hectare. Slight difference, but we're talking about the same ballpark numbers. 01300, the one that is on the north side of the road, is at $1,670 per hectare. It's a little bit lower, but the reason why it's lower is some of the total land is actually tiled away. So some of it had to have been factored down because it's tiled into another watershed. Surface water still drains this way, but the tile drainage goes away, so it's reasonable to expect that that number wouldn't be the exact same number because it got reduced in total land area. I think, for the most part, that covers what I wanted to say and explain to the court how the assessments are done. So I don't know while I'm sitting here, if the court wants to ask me questions now, or I can vacate, whatever you think.
Okay, maybe I'll ask the appellants if they are present, if they wish to elaborate on their verbal appeal at all. No? Not seeing anything? Yeah. Okay, all right. Any questions from the court here? No? I just want to, I'm maybe just going to want to ask, just so I have it clear for the court at all, can you tell me what the exact total is for each side? Just so I make sure we know we're talking the same numbers?
I don't know if it's in the agenda package there, Sarah.
I think I did see it.
Schedule.
Which page is it of the report?
Page 24 of my report.
Page 24.
Yes. Yeah.
One page down. I think. There we go. So what we have here, first column, just to walk it through for everybody. First column on next to the names is the total hectares affected. Total hectares in the watershed is 80. The estimated gross assessments. So this is where all of the numbers that I kind of walked through here, where we got different benefits, different outlets, the totals are the gross numbers. So 3,600, 34,924, 81,000. 81,000 is the Kestelute number. The Pinenberg properties are two different properties, 121, 469, and 34, 924. So look at, whatever. Those are the gross totals. The 1/3 grant then comes off of the farm class properties. So grant comes off of gross amount as measured by OMAPRA. That has nothing to do with us or the township. That is OMAPRA's program. I just am carrying it out. So 1/3 comes off of the gross assessments. Then the allowances. The allowances are crop damages and right-of-way for the drain to use the land. And then the last number, we just popped down a little bit, Kim. I think we popped down a page. I think if you go up 2 pages, I think you'll get back there. There you go. Yeah. And then, so when you take off the grant, you take off the allowances, the net amounts are on the right column, the right-hand column there. The net is what actual owners would receive. This is estimated. Actual project costs will slightly differ, but this is the amount that people would actually receive. If we total them together, Castelloot property 44,655, 2 Pinenberg properties together are approximately $101,000, I think. Yes, that's the amount.
Okay, thank you. Just for, I know that probably is going to come up when we get into it. Okay, any other questions from council at all? No? Okay, I'm just, before I ask for the assessed landowner, should I ask if there's anybody else that's going to appeal first?
Yeah, if there's any further appellants.
If there is. Okay, is there anybody else here that wishes to appeal the assessment? I didn't think there was, but I thought I'd get that out of the way. Okay, now I'll give the opportunity to the affected assessed landowner to speak to the appeal. If you want to come forward and state your name, please.
John Pinenberg. Thank you, Mayor and councilors. I'd like to discuss a couple of things. First of all, as you saw in the last report, this drain was initiated by Ralph Sparks in 1998 because he had problems with the outlet at that drain. Water was coming across the road from my property onto his property, wasn't getting away, and he was upset about it and felt it was time to change. So he petitioned for this drain, and Jim Watson at that time was the drainage inspector and went through the procedure of what it all involved. And then what happened was we got to November, I believe, October or November of that year in '99, that the final assessment as to what it was going to cost came through. So we were at the council meeting with Eleanor, Ralph Sparks, and myself, and at that time, Eleanor lost her husband to cancer a month or so before that. So this was very traumatic for her at that time, and we could sense that and feel that, and we felt bad. So she was now with this, and then the expense of this drain, it was suggested that maybe we put the drain on hold. That's what Ralph asked Jim Watson. Jim Watson at that time said, no, we either do that or we abandon the drain. So Ralph asked to clarify what abandonment meant. And he said, it does not become part of the municipal drain anymore. Now it's up to the property owners to repair and maintain that drain if you're willing to do that. And so at that time, we all agreed that's what we would do. And as you saw in the report, Jim stated that he wasn't in favor of doing that. He thought that wasn't the right thing to do, but we all decided that's what we were going to do. So that's part of, so at that time, we all felt that whatever rate maintenance work we could get by with, and so we left it. Now we're 25, 26 years later. This drain is a 1915 drain. It needs work, more at the outlet than anything. The drain still works. Water does go through this 14-inch drain. The trouble is at the bush. We walked the bush with Eleanor and Mike to assess what was going on there, and just like Curtis from the drainage engineer showed those pictures, those drains were disrupted, uprooted, broken, so there was a problem. So we had said, why don't we fix this, make it so it just drains into the bush? And we offered Mike that's we could help him do that. And so he said he'd get back to us, and a couple of days later, we asked again, and he said no, he would take care of it. So this is a year or two ago now. So the next phase of it is I had talked to the person that was renting the land, and we all know him, and asked if whatever drainage I do was going to affect his crops, because if he'd have said, don't do it, I would not have done it. And he said, I've done a bunch of work in the bush, it's draining in the bush the best it can. It's not going to affect the property. So he was not concerned about flooding his land or his crops. So that's why we proceeded with it. Mike knew that we wanted to tile. We did mention that. So that's kind of the story of what's happened here. We've got an old drain. Jim wanted to repair it back then, and we decided not to. And I still stand by what we did, but it's time to move on here. As far as the assessment goes, this is our third drain that we've been involved with, and this is the first one that we've asked for. Curtis has gone through the procedure every time, and I feel if he changes his planning of how he assesses this, what does that say about the other drains that we've done? So that's my feeling.
Okay,
So, thank you.
all right, thank you very much. Okay, so now we go right down to 3, to close the court.
Yeah, we're closing the court, not by resolution, but so you can
Okay.
go deliberate.
Okay, so now, any other, I'll ask last time for council, any other questions from council on? Okay, so we're gonna close the court verbally, and we're gonna leave the room, head down the hall, and we'll make our assessment, and then we'll come back. Go.
One more thing, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
If there's
yep.
any procedures or questions you have, you can ask Adam as your drainage superintendent to help assist you if you're back there and you need assistance.
Okay.
We'll chime in on assessments, but he can help you with things if you need clarification on anything, just so you know before you go.
Okay, perfect. Do you need a verbal for that,
Nope.
or just go?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. All right, council, we'll go back. Okay, everybody's ready? All right. The court has made a decision on the appeal received from the Kesteloots, and a resolution to sustain the assessment is forward. And after the resolution, advise the appellants of the decision and that they will receive a decision in writing. I think you have a resolution for that.
Okay, so I have a resolution regarding the appeal
Yep.
first. Be it hereby resolved that the appeal received from the Kestelut family be rejected by the Court of Revision for the Sparks drain.
Okay, can I move in a second, please? Moved by Councillor Demmer, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried.
And then I have a resolution to sustain the assessment.
Yep.
Be it hereby resolved that the Court of Revision for the Sparks drain sustain the assessment as outlined in the report of K. Smarts dated May 5th, 2026.
Okay, can I get a move in a second, please? Moved by Councillor Demmer, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay.
And then I have a resolution to close.
Okay, and there is a process that you can appeal that as well. And if you want to speak to Adam, he'll put you through that process if you need to go that. Okay? All right, thank you. Okay, and go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that the Court of Revision for the Sparks drain be closed at 4:47 p.m.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Young, all in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay. All right, okay, and we're going to go into our second public meeting.
Be it hereby resolved that council move into Committee of Adjustment at 4:48 p.m. and further that Mayor Peterson chair the public meeting.
Okay, can I get a mover and a second, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Banbury, all in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay. All right, I'm officially opening this public meeting, which is being held under the Planning Act for the purpose of hearing minor variance applications and allow any person in attendance the opportunity to make a presentation to council. I would like to ask those in attendance that if they wish to receive notification of the committee's decision, they should sign the sheet on the shelf by the rear of the room. I would like to advise those in attendance that the Ontario Land Tribunal has the power to dismiss an appeal if an appellant has not provided the committee with oral submissions at a public meeting or written submission before a decision has been rendered by the committee. I will now ask any members to state any disclosure of peculiar interest or general nature thereof. I'm not seeing. Next is a consideration of the minutes from the previous meeting. Does any members have any comments or revisions to the minutes presented? No, not seeing any. I request a verbal motion for that. Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Banbury. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. There's one application to be heard today, MVA 0226 for John Day Holdings Incorporated for property located at 133 Peterson Street, Drumbo. And Dustin, if you could present that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon, members of council, staff, and those in attendance here today. The application before you concerns a 634-meter square property on Peterson Street, which is currently zoned R1-14. The property itself is currently vacant of any buildings and structures. As council is likely aware, this portion of the subdivision is in various stages of development. The applicant is looking to build a single detached dwelling that would be approximately 273 meters square in terms of the footprint. And they're here today asking for two variances. The first to reduce the required interior side yard width from 1.2 meters down to 1.1 meter, and also to allow an increase in the overall lot coverage from 40% to 43%. In terms of comments as a result of the internal circulation, no comments were received, nor were any comments received as a result of the circulation to members of the public. Staff are of the opinion that the proposal for both of these variances satisfies the official plan. Increasing the lot coverage by 3% equates to approximately 19 meters square of additional developable land, and in our opinion, in doing so, that does not overdevelop the site. Reducing the width by 0.1 meters will still allow for adequate access from the front yard into the rear yard, and it will also allow for routine maintenance along the side of the single detached dwelling. The applicants have also included an engineering letter outlining that in the opinion of their engineer, the increase in lot coverage and the reduction in interior side yard widths will not impact drainage patterns in the subdivision. And in the opinion of staff, with both of these variances being requested, we still believe that there'll be adequate space on site for the required off-street parking and also for the required amenity space as well. So with that all being said, we are here today recommending support for both variances being proposed.
Okay. Do any members of the, hold on here. Sorry. Does the applicant have any comments or anything to say concerning the application, the recommendation, or conditions outlined in the report? Nope, not see any. Do any members of the committee have any questions or comments? No. Is there any person from the audience who wishes to provide comments in support or opposition to this application? If so, please state your name and address as you rise to speak to the issue. Nope, don't see any. Okay, is there a verbal motion from a committee to accept the application with conditions noted or deny the application? Councilor? To accept, okay. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Barnes, second by Councilor Banbury. All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. And that was unanimous. The business before the committee has now been completed, and there is a resolution to rise, please.
Be it hereby resolved that the committee rise at 4:53 p.m. and that the open meeting of council resumes.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Barnes, second by Councilor Young. All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. All right. Okay, and another resolution. Go in.
Be it hereby resolved that the council move into public meeting under the Planning Act to consider one application for zone change, ZN1 2605, for sealing, and further, that Mayor Peterson chair the public meeting.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Young, second by Councilor Demers. All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, just sign that quick. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm officially opening this public meeting, which is being held on the Planning Act for the purpose of hearing an application for a zone change in the township of Blandford-Blenheim. I would like to advise those in attendance that the Ontario Land Tribunal has the power to dismiss an appeal if an appellant has not provided the council with oral submissions at a public meeting or written submission before a bylaw is passed. Pursuant to recent changes under Bill 185, appeals are now generally limited to the applicant, a registered only a public body or specific persons or the minister. I would like to ask those in attendance that if you wish to receive notification of council's decision, they should sign the sheet by the door at the rear of the room, and please include your email address to receive further future correspondence. Now, as council members, just state any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. And I'm not seeing any. There is one application being considered today, an application for zone change ZN1-26-05 for sealing for lands municipally addressed at 887573 Township Road 11. And Dustin, if you could present that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The lands subject to this application are approximately 6.9 acres in size and are currently zoned A1-C. For council's information, the -C is meant to recognize that these lands do permit a converted dwelling. The lands themselves currently contain a single detached dwelling, an additional residential unit that is attached to the house, which was the converted dwelling when it was applied for, a detached garage, a pavilion, and a number of small outbuildings for farm animals on the property. If we could just go to plate 3, please. As you'll see on plate 3, the applicants here today are proposing a detached ARU, which you'll see up in the top left corner. The proposal today is to rezone the subject lands from an A1-C zone to an A1 special zone. And in doing so, there are a total of 5 variances or deviations from the zoning bylaw that are being requested. The first is to permit a detached ARU. The second is to increase the maximum ARU floor area from 1,506 square feet to 1,910 square feet. Increase the ARU height from a maximum of 18 feet to a maximum of 20 feet. increase the maximum distance between an ARU and a single detached dwelling from 98.4 feet to 328 feet, and to increase the maximum accessory building gross floor area from 2,422 square feet to 3,074 square feet. Just for council's information, the reason that we are changing the zoning here today is the zoning bylaw does not allow for an ARU and a converted dwelling to be on the same site. So by doing that, what we're doing is taking away the ability for a converted dwelling on site, but we would recognize the existing unit that's attached to the house as an ARU as well. So we would be looking at the detached ARU and the ARU that exists here today in a total cumulative size. As a result of the comments received as a result of this circulation to internal departments and agencies, none were received. At the time of the writing of the report, we had not heard from Hydro One. However, we have since received comment from Hydro One simply stating that they do not provide comments for zone change applications or variance applications, but did advise that if there's any proposal that's within the corridor of their infrastructure, as you can see the hydro cut on there, that the applicants would need to consult Hydro One through the appropriate channels. So we did receive that. In terms of our analysis, I can state that staff do support 4 of the 5 variances that are being proposed as a part of this zone change application. The one that we do not support is the one regarding the distance between the single detached dwelling and the detached ARU. As we've had this conversation before, the intent of that maximum of 98.4 feet is to keep the ARU in the same vicinity as the principal dwelling, as we call it, for various reasons. One is to preserve farmland, but also to ensure that vegetation is not being removed unnecessarily. And it's also done this way to keep sensitive land uses together, especially in rural areas. And the purpose in doing that is it reduces the potential impact on surrounding farms when it comes to livestock operations. Every time you construct a livestock facility, you need to ensure that you're set back the appropriate distance from sensitive uses such as an ARU and a house. And that's determined through the minimum distance separation calculations. So by spacing out the sensitive uses, you are increasing the potential limitations of surrounding farms. And while saying that, I will stress this is a potential impact because I am not aware of any proposals on surrounding farms for livestock operations, but it is one that could occur that I would point out to council. In staff's opinion, while not ideal, and I'm sure the applicants can speak more to this in terms of their reasoning for wanting it where it is, in staff's opinion, there are opportunities within the 98.4 meters radius of the single detached dwelling or slightly outside of it as well. While it may not be the preferred or ideal locations, we do have to look at if it could go in there. In our opinions, it could still rest within that 98 feet, specifically to the north and northwest of the main house. I will point out that to the south is woodlands, significant woodlands, so that's not an area that we would consider an appropriate location for one, but in our opinion, the north and northwest could potentially be looked at. I did point out before that one of the reasons that we'd like to keep it within 98 feet is to avoid the removal of vegetation if it's unnecessary. And in this case, if we could just go back to plate 2 for one moment. Thank you, Kevin. You can see the proposed location, which is in the top left corner. There is woodlands, so a portion of that would need to be removed. I'm not sure if the entirety of it would be removed, but a portion would be. So we would point out that that would be removing vegetation. As I did state before, another reason that I raised some concern is the fact that you have to go through a Hydro One corridor. You can see the infrastructure based on the shadows on there in order to reach this site. Now, like I said, we have since received that correspondence from Hydro One, so I think that takes care of that potential concern that was outlined in my report. So overall, we're here to say that we do support a detached ARU. We do support the maximum height, the maximum size of ARUs, and the maximum size of accessory buildings as proposed by the applicant. However, we are not here in support of the proposed distance, and as such, we are recommending that council not support the application as currently proposed. And happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any planning questions from council? I have one, just for clarification, maybe I missed it, but on his little diagram, it says that it's going to be 78.32 meters away, and in the report, it says 100?
Yep.
Just so I get clarification on the difference.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, the application itself requested 100. Well, the sketch does, of course, show, like you said, 78 meters. So we are going with what the application says.
Oh.
But if council so wishes, they could alter the maximum distance as well. But that's why there's two different numbers.
Okay. And just if you could go back to plate 2, please. Just a question. The white spot that's up on this one right here. What is that? It's just not on the map. I was just curious what it is.
To you, Mr. Mayor, I would have to defer to the applicant.
Okay.
On that one.
I'll ask you when you have your say then. And so with hydro, that was one thing that I looked at, and to me, at first I went, if hydro hasn't made us a response, we can't make a decision because we could say yes and they could say no, or vice versa. So I'm kind of clear with Hydro One. They never said yes, and they never said no. So if we approve it, they could still say no? Is that kind of the...
To you, Mr. Mayor, it's almost a standard no comment. And just to explain how we got here, so when we circulate Hydro One, this is a relatively recent change. They've now indicated that they will not be commenting on zone changes or variance applications. So we never received any comment at all. Credit to the applicant, Matt. He followed up with Hydro One directly and explained the situation. And through that correspondence, they actually provided this no comment, stay outside of the corridor comment. So what that means is the applicants are going to need to be sure that where they're proposing is outside of the corridor. Otherwise, they're going to have to be working with Hydro One to ensure that everything is being followed. And in issuing the building permit, Mr. Belanger is going to also be cognizant of that too. That's the correspondence we got that I've been provided. Perhaps Mr. Sealing can speak a little bit further to that. But that's what they're saying is, based on what they've sent, is if it's outside the corridor, they seem to have, quote, no comment on that.
So, and just, I know where it's going, but just for clarification, it's going to go somewhere in this spot, right in there.
Yeah, to you, Mr. Mayor, actually where it says the subject lands and has the arrow, I know it's a little dark, that's the approximate location of it. So you would be crossing the corridor where Kevin was showing there.
So the laneway would go underneath it, kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Anything else from council at all? Nope, I'm not seeing any. Okay, does the applicant or agent wish to speak regarding this application? So come ahead.
Do you want me to just come outside?
Yep, come on up.
First off, I just want to say thanks to Dustin. He's been amazing just walking me through it, letting me know what's going to happen. It's a hard process. But anyway, I'm just really appreciative of it. Yeah, thanks, Dustin, for that. Okay, so I'll answer, Mr. Mayor, your first question. That is just a concrete pad.
Okay.
We call it our play spot. It's just basketball and,
Okay.
and that kind of thing. We just poured concrete there. That's all. So that area back there is our backyard. I'd spoken to my wife about it, what? And she's just like, no, our backyard is our backyard. We need to keep something. So we do have a hobby farm. There's some animals and stuff. So it's a lot of the land is taken up with various things. So the reason for the spot where it is, it's really the only spot that works within usability. Like I have my tractor parked here, and I have to do have implements there, and I have outbuildings there, and just all that stuff together, if I put a house anywhere, I don't know how I'd use my property properly. And I know what he's saying, and I totally get why they're saying it, I understand. And it's been thought through many, many times and talked through with family and whatnot. But that spot, it looks really nice and green there. It's a lot of dead trees. I took down a lot of them. I would say a part-time arborist. When I see dead trees on my property, I have to drop them or else they fall where I don't want them to. And I was able to take down, there's only a couple more to go before it would become, to the point where it could be usable. But it was before, it was just really a lot of weeds and just useless area that did nothing but kind of cause problems, rats and other animals that we didn't like there. So it was good to get it cleaned up if nothing else. And there is already a corridor that goes there. We have 2 fences, one along the red and then another fence that goes beside it. So it gives an actual driveway already there because I use it for the tractor getting back and forth there. And we have already actually got a surveyor in, and we check to make sure everything is within boundaries. We know our boundaries, we know the hydro cut boundaries, and so yeah, everything is within those. So we were making sure ahead of time that we weren't playing with fire on that one. So yeah, if there's any other questions, I'm free. Feel free to ask. I don't want to ramble.
Any questions from council? Councilor Bambury.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, are they high voltage lines that go through there?
I believe
They
so.
will be.
That was my only guess. They're fairly large.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just got replaced a couple of years ago because I guess they had some rot.
So how close would the unit be to the actual hydro lines?
Not like, they're up pretty high with there's a pole where,
You can see these.
yeah, kind of where
It's going to go like this.
yeah, that's where the pole is right now. And then the other pole is way down further. So I would say, I don't know, 50 feet minimum away. I'm not real good at the big dimension, but it's nowhere close to it, I guess, if that helps at all. Or
The reason I ask is I was confined with a gentleman at waiting room the other day who's a high up guy from Hydro One. And he's retired now, so we had a nice long visit. So I mentioned to him how the cable underground is, and they're having to raise the wires up because the high voltage wires, because it interferes with the fiber optic cable.
oh, interesting.
So I'm just wondering now if it's really wise to be living that close maybe to these high voltage wires. If it'll penetrate ground and get interfere with the fiber optic cable, if you're living pretty close to it, that might be something.
I don't think it's the big steel towers, is it?
No, it's just big
Yeah.
posts.
So it'd be no
Big wood
different than what
posts.
we have
Yeah,
in
so-
front of our
So
house.
I don't know how to answer your
Yeah.
high voltage. I don't know how
Yeah.
high, like it's,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
It-
That's why they're raising a bunch of the,
It'd be no different than the poles in front of our house, is what it would be. It's not like the big high-tension wires.
no. The idea too for this ADU, I guess I didn't put in there, is for family, like, so I have 3 kids, 15, 18, 20. Right now, there's no way they could afford a home, and so we're like, well, we do like having them on the property, and so it would be a home for them as well. And it's a very simple, it's a rectangle box, nothing fancy, just something that they can live in. And again, I understand the distances, it was the best spot I could possibly think of for, yeah.
Councilor Young.
Yeah, I appreciate, we talk often about needing more housing and keeping family together on farmland. My question, I guess, is what do all your neighbors, like, is there, I think about the minimum distance standard that we've talked about in multiple meetings previous about people building and how it can affect your neighbors in their operations. So I'm just curious in regards to livestock, or what this would mean to the neighbors, or how many of it would affect, or what that looks like outside of that
Yeah,
red square.
so crossing a bit of an angle is Pinenberg Farm. She's got the dryers, the big corn dryers, and then down the road is another Pinenberg Farm. They actually, we're just building an egg layer barn. I'm project managing for them, and so distances wise, not even close. Around us is just land. This year they're doing corn again. 2 years ago they did hay. It's a lot of corn usually and hay, and then you just have the equestrian center just over there.
Yeah.
Nobody has, like, I've talked to them, nobody has any concerns or whatever. I'd be more than happy to even show them the whole thing. I've talked to them in person, I haven't actually showed them the whole, but said, and none of them have raised any concerns, because it's a big deal. You want it, what few neighbors you do have, you want to make sure you
Yeah,
get
absolutely.
along. We do, we all really enjoy each other's company, so which is nice.
That's why I ask, because
Yeah.
I think like
No, it's very
some of
important.
these decisions have larger impact.
Yeah,
that
I would not
sometimes-
want to take anyone off, that's for sure, because it's not worth it, not out there.
So,
go
can I just
ahead.
ask a follow-up? I know you've kind of said there's not a lot of option other than that one location. Have you considered any other spots?
We did, like, Dustin and I have talked about a few. Is it okay if I go up and
Yep.
point? Just, yeah, 'cause so, and I did bring it up to my wife too and stuff. One of the spots that Dustin had talked about was right here. And it does look, from a map point of view, it looks good. But what you don't see here is my gate, my sliding gate that allows me into the backyard. And if I have a truck and trailer or tractor, which I use all the time because I'm always doing things back here, owning property, I wouldn't really be able to get in well. Like, I have an old well here that's been decommissioned, or no, so old septic's been decommissioned. And just over here is my new septic, and then it comes out to my weeping bed out here. So anything I do, I have to be careful of that as well. We are going to be, just as a side note, we're going to be putting a brand new well and a brand new septic out here, so there's no worries about, crossing any. I've actually had the soil sample tested already. It did T15, I believe, and it was good soil already, which was nice to see. Yeah, so like here is a building we use. We call it our pavilion. It's got like picnic tables, and we just enjoy it as family and stuff like that. It's a covered spot, so that spot wouldn't really be fantastic. There's a little duck pond there. Anywhere along here, this is where I keep a lot of my tractor implements, and then this is actually where I store my tractor. This has some peacocks and turkeys and my daughter, some enclosure, and then actually I park my trailer right here. So up here is a path. I guess you can kind of see it worn down where I drive up and been working up there, so I can get my tractor and whatnot. So I just hadn't been able to figure out anything. Like if I were to say build a house here, I wouldn't even be able to use this area because it would be cut off, and I guess it would be out of the hydro cut for that, but it would be right beside. The turkeys are fairly noisy.
Sorry, can I just follow
Yeah,
up?
yeah, please.
With your, with that pavilion there, is it a possibility, I'm not sure what it looks like, is it possible to move that to where you're thinking of putting this house? And
I would become useless. Like I wouldn't.
Too far.
Yeah, if I moved it, I wouldn't use it at all because then you'd be.
Yeah,
There with,
yeah.
Yeah. So if that was if that was a forest, it wouldn't really do me any.
Right, yeah.
No, it's a good
yeah.
question. Please,
Yeah.
anybody else, if, I'm more than willing to. Because everything else either has like our hobby animals or our own personal property. Like even anywhere around here, it's it's a nice driving circle and all that stuff. It's a really fantastic property. We don't want to take away from it when we can, but in the end, yeah.
Okay, is there any other questions from council at all? No? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Are there any members of council have any further questions for clarification?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
if you don't mind, Dustin, just to go back to the comment that the mayor said at the onset with the distance on the diagram being, I think it says 78.32. It would be in compliance if that was correct.
No.
No,
where it wouldn't be in
that's in
compliance.
meters, yeah, so.
Oh, it's in
so-
meters. Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
it's 30 meters, that would have
Right.
to be the
Gotcha.
maximum.
Okay, apologies.
Yeah, Yeah.
I got lost with that too. Sometimes I was like, yay. Oh, shoot.
yeah. So that is one thing, if, and I don't know where council's going, if they're in favor of it or not, but we could change that number to, say, 80 meters if and it would be compliant
I
with
guess I
what-
missed, oh, yeah.
Are
like,
you
I'm
confident?
100%, yeah, that is the correct, I don't know why I put 100 on, yeah.
Okay.
That's my mistake.
If I may.
Yep.
If council were to be looking to perhaps change the number, just to be safe, I'd maybe just give it a little bit of leeway. If
Totally.
maybe 80 instead of 78. Just
Yep. Okay. Okay, I'll ask, are there any interested parties in attendance who wish to speak to this application? No? Okay, there's no issues that are raised. Are there any final comments or questions from members of council? No? Not see any? Okay, so just, I'm gonna bring up one scenario, because I know we've had it before. If we, and I don't know where council's going from this, if council turns it down, it's done, right? So, my thoughts are, if you're thinking of turning it down, my thoughts are that we defer it rather than turn it down. That way, possibly we can come up with another solution going forward. So I'm going to ask that question before we go farther, because I don't want this to just get turned down and be gone, and then you got to start all over again. Okay?
I'm not comfortable denying it. I think we want to work with people to figure out how to do this. It just isn't always that simple or that clear. So I would be more willing to defer it or see how we can make this maybe. I mean, the 78 sounds better than the 100.
Yeah.
We're looking
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. I know we've had these before, and I know, people that don't understand the whole process, we have to have those numbers in place, because if we don't have a number, that's a starting point. And we had earlier from 40 to 42 or 43 or whatever it was % lot coverage. That's the starting point. We have to have those, and for us to look outside that starting point somewhere. Otherwise, it's hard to make any decisions here. So I know we've had before where we've had well beyond 30 meters, and the other ones are all above as well. I just want to make sure that, whatever way council is going here, that we don't just throw this away and have to start all over again. So, but if you're in favor of it, that's fine too. Councilor Demers.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with deferring to give Matt and his family an opportunity to maybe come back. Matt, one of the criteria with ARUs, or one of the most important criteria is this idea of having everything in a cluster.
Right, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
as Dustin has explained. So, yeah, I agree. If we can send them away and maybe think about that a little bit more
Yeah.
and see about maybe
I
and-
thought about it so long, so I'm not sure what I could come up with, because like everything I do and everything I look at and every scenario, I'm like, it's just the perfect spot. Like I said, I have this useless spot, and I get the distance, so I don't want to downplay it. It's just like these trees I've gotten rid of. Now it's this area that is totally usable. The soil's good. I'm ready for. I've even got a spot like where this triangle part where I'll be able to put my septic, the weeping bed. Like it's just, I'm like, I can't have this anymore. If I put it somewhere else, I have to throw that stuff, I gotta throw my waste way up there anyways, because there's nowhere else I could put it. And that was the other part that I really thought long and hard. I was like, okay, so yes, the house is out of the way, but I also have to think about the well and the septic.
Right.
And which is a big part of it. So again, this is where I'm like, I just, in any world, I can't see
you put
anything
it
else,
back to
because there's
plate?
other issues with not putting it there, I guess is where I'm at. Because if I don't know where else I could put a weeping bed with what I have without causing problems somewhere else, because I can't drive on my weeping bed, and my tractor has to be able to get around there.
So-
Can you
so-
use your existing one?
My initial thoughts when I looked at it were,
Might have to-
first I thought over here.
Well, we just upgraded it at the max possible. Right.
That
yes.
was my initial
Yeah,
thought.
exactly. And that's actually what I brought up to my wife too. And I was like, honey, she's like, don't ask. She-
Happy wife, happy
you
life.
got it, yeah. And
My second possible spot was up in this area.
Right.
And that would decrease it by almost half. But I don't know what the lay of the land's like if
To you, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify on the first option would not be supportable simply because of MDS. because of that horse farm.
Right next door.
Yeah, so the house that exists there now, he wouldn't be able to go any further east than that house. He could go up to the extent of the house, but he couldn't go any further east,
I see what you're saying.
okay?
But the place where the pavilion is,
Yes, that would be possible.
possible option. Okay, so I'll just maybe, we have two that are thinking of deferring.
Defer.
So I think council, rather than throwing this away, let's defer it, see if we get back and you can work with Dustin. Maybe council's kind of give you a couple suggestions to see if that hopefully works. Same thing, I wondered if you could move that pavilion and sometimes,
If I move it, I destroy it.
yeah, it's kind of a give and take thing, right? I guess it'll depend on how bad you want your
Right.
ARU,
So,
right?
Quick question, is it possible, is it okay if someone comes out to the property, like, I don't know if this is a proper ask or not, and look and walk it with me, and be like, okay, now that you can see it in person, because it does look, to me, I'm like, oh yeah, why not there? And I'm like, when I'm there, it's like, no, not there.
Yeah, that's total up to council. I know, probably most of us here at council have done that at one point or the other, because it's hard to, like, when I look on that just looks like a big flat piece of land.
Totally.
And it's hard to tell whether, you're building into a hill or,
The gully, like down there, where, and the other one shows cows, it's a huge gully.
Yeah,
Like, it's monstrous,
yeah.
and you can't, by a picture, it's like.
so I know personally for me, I don't have a problem with coming out and taking a look, and I don't know if any other.
Okay.
Usually when anybody does this, though, we don't do it we can't go as three, because then we become a quorum. So it has to be, and I'll leave it up to others in council, whether if Matt gets a hold of you and you want to go out there, I'll leave that up to you. Same with myself.
Okay.
But I think it's probably best for you, by the sounds of it here, is if we defer this.
No, that's.
And then that way,
I really appreciate it, actually, to be honest with you.
yeah,
guys were willing to-
that way we're not squashing you right off the bat. Councilor Bamber.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, how many acres are involved in this property as a whole?
7 as a whole, like
7 as a whole?
6.9, yeah.
Have you ever given any consideration to the future? Like, no one can predict the future, obviously, but, this might be directed more to you, Dustin, and we probably haven't been into the ARU business long enough to really see how this works out, but heaven forbid anything happen to the owner of this property, and how many families will be living here?
So right now it's myself and then my father and mother-in-law. So the first edition we did, and long story short, but my father-in-law's on palliative care, so we're able to take care of him. It's worked out amazing how the whole thing happened. My wife looks after him.
Okay.
So the other would be like either my son or either my 2 daughters.
Yeah.
Is the idea.
This wouldn't necessarily apply to your situation, but just in general, if maybe 2 or 3 families are living on the property all at once, and say the parents who own the property dies, and then things have to be divided up, the property would be a little more difficult to sell in the first place, right? Because of the nature of the lease.
It would be a rental, I think, for like, if it's not family, it'll only be a rental.
Yeah,
I can't sell.
we're kind of forgetting about
Okay.
your situation
Okay,
at the moment.
sorry.
I don't have too much of a problem with your situation, but I
Right.
just wondered about AUs in general. When circumstances change and the place has to be sold or, change hands and family don't get along and they be a problem and they're trying to sell it and nobody wants to buy it because it's got 2 or 3 places on it.
Yeah, through you,
Just
Mr.
be
Mayor.
considered a rental, right?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's a good question, and really, I think, in that situation, if one were to come on the market, let's just say there was one additional ARU on there, it's gonna take the right buyer, of course. Now, ARUs are not all the same. Some are more permanent than others, I would say. So some can be removed, no problem. Others, they're pretty permanent when they're on the foundation and whatnot, but it certainly would take a specific buyer to want a property that has 1 or 2 ARUs. But they're out there,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yours would be permanent.
It's, slab on grade, but permanent, yes.
Councilor Young.
I forgot I did have another question now that you're talking about it. In your letter, it did say temporary. A temporary
Yeah, again, these are the things I was like, well, it's temporary because it's slab on
on
grade.
okay.
Could I possibly pick it up? I believe I could.
I think you could pick up any house and move it.
That's-
We've seen that happen.
Exactly. And so I'm a builder renovator, so yeah, like my mind
Okay.
goes to those places too, and it's.
So it's not an actual, because when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this sounds like it's not going to be forever, but it is
Right.
going to just be on
And
it.
I guess a flip to this too, also trying to do a test home. So I also have a development company. It's a business partner, and we're trying to find, can we build these homes as cheap as we think we can and as quality as we can? And I'm like, I need to do a test home. I got to figure this out. So it is twofold as well. I'm trying to
Yeah.
because affordable housing to me is a big thing. With 3 kids, my business partner is 4. It adds up. You know, a lot of people that can't get homes in this.
Yep. I know you and I have talked about it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else from council? So I guess just the couple things that I'm picking up from council here is, one is to possibly look for another location closer. And I guess if nothing else, that 78 meters, maybe we could, whatever comes about, we'll get that number maybe a little more tight to where it is, so, okay? Be all right? Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, this application will be dealt with by council at its regular meeting following the public meeting. And I will now officially close this public meeting, and a resolution to rise, please.
Be it hereby resolved that the public meeting be adjourned and that the regular meeting of council reconvene.
Okay, can I have a mover and a second, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Banbury. All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay.
Okay, and I have the resolution.
Yep.
Be it hereby resolved that council defer the zone change application submitted by Matt and Sarah Sealing, whereby lands described as Part Lot 4, Concession 11, Blenheim, Part 1, Plan 41R 2996 in the Township of Blandford-Blenheim.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Young. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, thank you, Dustin. Okay. We got no delegations and correspondence specific.
Shall I read the resolution?
Yes, please.
Whereas recent municipal infrastructure funding programs by the Government of Canada and Province of Ontario have tended to prioritize growth-related or housing-enabling infrastructure projects over infrastructure renewal needs, and whereas the Government of Ontario has regulated municipal infrastructure asset management through OREG 588-17, Asset Management Planning for Municipal Infrastructure, under the Infrastructure for Jobs and Prosperity Act 2015, and whereas municipal asset management plans and the Financial Accountability Office of Ontario have identified that municipalities have significant state of good repair backlogs and renewal needs for infrastructure, and whereas the Government of Ontario doubled the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, OCIF, from $200 million per year to $400 million per year for 2021 to 2026, but has not publicly committed to maintaining this level of funding beyond 2026, and whereas the OCIF has become vital and indispensable resource for municipalities, assisting them with improving their asset management programs and meeting community preserving infrastructure and renewal needs, and whereas increased geopolitical uncertainty is threatening the economic prosperity of Canada, Ontario, and every municipality, and whereas municipal infrastructure is a key enabler and preserver of economic prosperity, and whereas the Municipal Finance Officers Association of Ontario, MFOA, has heard from its members and their municipalities concerns regarding the potential erosion of existing municipal infrastructure and thus service levels in light of the ongoing focus on housing enabling infrastructure by grant funding programs. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township of Blandford-Blenheim supports MFOA's letter to the Ministry of Infrastructure requesting that the doubling of the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund be made permanent in advance of the allocations for the 2027 calendar year, helping municipalities to continue building housing enabling infrastructure while preserving the economic value provided by existing infrastructure.
Okay, everybody's heard that. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Banbury. Anybody have any comments on that at all? I don't know if Denise is in here today. The OSIF grant is what it's called, I guess. What do we get a year? Is it a few $100,000? Is it?
Yeah, I believe it's.
I think it's somewhere in there. So to lose that funding, it is a lot of money. It's and it usually comes from somewhere, right? So it's another cut that seems to be on the horizon. So anyway, did I ask for moving?
Yeah, all those in favor?
All those in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Perfect. Okay, and then general correspondence.
Be it hereby resolved that the general correspondence items be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and second, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Banbury. Any comments on any of that at all? Councillor Young.
I just had a quick comment about the Oxford County Library report. I do want to just give a quick shout out for our librarian, Kathy. She was quoted, or they were quoted, somebody was about talking about her in that report. And in our small communities, our libraries are really vital as a connection to people. So I talk to a lot of people of all ages who use our libraries for so many things. And when they're new in town, that's where they learn things. That's where they learn about places and resources. Even if they're not new in town, they're there as families, as childcare providers. So I know we all know how important they are in our community, but I don't want to just go quickly over that report without acknowledging the role that they play.
Yep, thank you. I can't believe when you look at those stats, how much it's actually used. I was actually shocked at how much, to be honest with you.
Awesome.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, we're through that. Kevin's done his. Drew, please, Director of Public Services. Protective Services, sorry. Started with P.
Good afternoon, Council, Mr. Mayor. First report here is for the month of June, which seems like a little while ago. But just to recap what is in the report, we held an all-officers meeting, which we try to do twice a year and bring all the captains, district chiefs together. It makes for a great collaboration now that we have some fresh faces in different roles there. And some of these questions that we might take for granted as a senior officer, they bring up, and it made for a good meeting all around and kind of the direction where we're going for the remainder of the year. We held a joint training exercise with Enbridge out of the gas plant near Bright back in June there. And they, again, have had some turnover there, some new senior leadership at that compressor station. And we dialed it back a bit, and we started kind of at the basics. If there was a scenario at that plant, they do have low staff in the evenings and overnight. If you go to the gates, they can be remotely operated. So we just started right from there and made sure that those gates worked, to make sure that they stayed open, where we can drive, where we can't drive. If there was a person down, if they had a medical emergency or something like that, or how their infrastructure works as far as hydrants and the on-scene items there. So I felt it was very useful. There's been some follow-up, some areas that we can improve on, some areas that Enbridge is going to work on, and we're going to come back to the table and revisit that. So it was a very successful evening there. If you remember back when we were doing budget talks there, and we did the capital budget, we talked about the shore-based water rescue equipment that has been received now. Training has been, we did some training out at the pond where we took the training officers from each station, as well as the district chiefs and representative that supplied the equipment, the firefighters. You know, it was well received that we can do more, but still be safely on shore, not entering the water. So we're still staying safe, but in those vital few minutes when we first arrive on scene, we actually have something that we can utilize and safely commence somebody that is in need of assistance in the water that way. So that went very well. Along with preparing for camp in June there, will be a follow-up report in the coming month there, and working with the Princeton group to move from one station to the other was during that month as well. So, and with that, I can't wait to see everybody on August 22nd for the grand opening, and I hope that everyone is able to attend. With that, that's my June report.
Okay. Any questions on the report at all? Not seeing any? Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report FC 2607 be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Banbury, second by Councilor Young. Any comments? All in favor? and opposed, if any. Thank you, Drew. And your next one.
Yes, the next one is the grant application that we're proposing to submit for year 3 of the cancer prevention grant by the provincial government. If council remember, back in year 1, they proposed that they were going to allocate 30 million over 3 years, so 10 million a year, for cancer prevention initiatives. Year 1 was that 10 million, and then they doubled it for year 2. And this year, again, they have doubled it. So it is, they're allocating 20 million this year. The way they divvy it out is basically by number of stations in your township. So the base number for Blandford-Blenheim is ×4. So that's how we come up with that. This year, we're continuing on. We would like to concentrate on Station 82, which is a Drumbo station. Currently, they do not have any laundry facilities as far as a washer and dryer. We are proposing that we go for the same units that we have recently put in Princeton, with the same dryer that we have in Plattsville, and make provisions that we can put them in a room so they're not just in the truck bay and they're actually out of the diesel area there. It does leave us a little room where we can get a secondary washer, and that would replace the one that is in Plattsville. It's the original washer, the one and only one we've had for the last 10 years, and it is slated for replacement in the 2028 capital budget. So if we were able to get it this way, we'd be able to remove it from the overall capital budget in 2028. So you've heard me talk about the importance of this, and I'm sure you don't need to hear it again, but I'm happy to answer any questions on this.
Any questions on this report? Oh, getting off easy today. Go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report FC 2608 be received as information, and further, that council authorize the fire department to apply for the year 3 firefighter cancer prevention grant, and that subject to grant approval, council authorize the Station 82 laundry room renovation, Station 82 gear room expansion, 1 PPE extractor and 1 dryer for Station 82, and one replacement of PPE extractor for Station 83.
Okay, can I get a mover and a second, please? Moved by Councilor Banbury, second by Councilor Young. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Thank you very much. And next is Ray, our CBO. Welcome, Ray.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Council. If I may, I'd like to present the monthly report for the building department. We issued 18 permits last month, or in the month of June, and as you can see, you know, there's a lot of new housing coming in, and we're gonna get a little bit more, I think. Of course, if there's any questions, happy to answer them.
Any questions on the report? I have one, and I thought about it the other day. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So if I look at 2024, it was $16 million roughly in construction value. Was that for the whole year, or was that up till August of that year? Just so I'm comparing, like I'm comparing this year's 15 million?
Yes.
Whereas that's only up till, say, July or whatever?
Yeah, so those, yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
No, that's okay.
So through you, for the number of permits and that construction value chart, it just captures the number of permits and the construction value up to that month, which happens to be June.
Okay. Okay.
So next month for July, when I do my July report, all those numbers will go up.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I wasn't sure whether
Yeah.
that was the whole year and we weren't, you know, that way.
Yeah, it would look really
Perfect.
skewed, right, if it was
Yeah.
a whole year.
It's
But-
actually, when you look at the numbers, we're not far off. I mean, I kind of take the bright one out of the scenario back in 2016, I think it was.
Right.
That was kind of an anomaly, but we're really, hopefully, I'm thinking with all the
Yeah.
permits that are coming the next
Yeah,
little
you can
bit.
see that we're on par with the number of permits, and our construction value is
Yeah,
the second one, right?
yeah.
Like, there was only 1 year, other than the 2026, or 2016, that was more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think the 2021, wasn't that all the, like a lot
That
of
was
water
all
hookups
the
or something?
the Enbridge stuff,
right?
the
Yeah.
Union Gas stuff, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, at least got one question in for you.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report CBO 2607 be received as information.
Can I get a mover and a second, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Barnes. Any comments? All in favor? Thank you, Ray.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up is Jim, our Director of Public Works. Welcome, Jim.
Evening, Council. This is my monthly report for July. Phase 5 will be starting in August. That is the final phase of Princeton. That will include the PXO crossing and all the top lift asphalt. Bridge 24, I am happy to say we are making progress. The in-water archaeological testing has been done and they found no concerns. We've moved all the endangered species away from the bridge, as well as put bat houses up, and we have found no barn swallows underneath the bridge, so we are moving forward, which is great news.
You're all at my house.
Getting all those
Oh, good, we can move forward.
Yeah. Bridge 23, this was the rehabilitation on Blenheim Road. That is all complete. We did not find anything that was not supposed to be there, the pre-construction that was done last year. The only issue, it was delayed opening by a week. There's a sealant on top of it that takes a little bit of aggregate. They didn't put enough on, so it was tacky. So they had to wait, grind it off and reapply it. But other than that, everything went well. Township Road 12, we've done the gravel as well as the bioresin. I can say I am very impressed. We did it last Wednesday, and in normal fashion, an ATV saw the fresh gravel and decided to tear it up and didn't make a mark in it. You could see on the little bit of a surface where the tire tracks were, but as far as digging in like they normally would, causing ruts, there was none of that. So that was 12 hours after we'd installed it, so it's still getting harder as it goes on. So far, it's very impressive and lived up to expectations. Service sharing, the Oxford Road Association, we're all on summer break, won't be meeting again until September. As far as drainage goes, Adam's working on, of course, the spark drain that we heard earlier, as well as a clean out right now that is taking place in one of the Princeton ponds, one of the older ponds. So that does require some testing. I'm not sure if anybody's been down there, but you'll see there's kind of 6 different piles that they have to test to make sure that there's no contaminants in it, which will determine where we can dispose of that soil. Public Works staff has been working on roadside cutting. We finished the gravel and the calcium early July. The communal machine is doing a great job, the new roadside cutter. Yeah, a few storms. We've had fair trees come down that have all been picked up. So staff has been very busy. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council on the report? Councillor Barnes.
Yeah, I was down the 12th, as you know I probably would be, and I'm very impressed. Yeah, I was shocked to see how hard it was, and like I say, they were blowing donuts down the road there, and it's not a mark hardly at all, just scratched the surface. So yeah, hopefully it does a good job, and then whatever, and we can use it somewhere else in our township.
Yep, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, be curious to see the time frame on how long it,
Yeah,
you know,
because we do have some bad spots in our township that
yeah,
could be used, right? So.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Anything else from council? Nope. Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report PW 2614 be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and second, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Trevor, our Manager of Community Service. Welcome, Trevor.
Afternoon, Council. I'm here to do my monthly report today.
During the month, we had 3 baseball tournaments held in our baseball diamonds throughout the township. The Drumbo Accessible Playground project has been completed. At the time of this report, it wasn't done, but it's been done since. Been open to the public. We will be planning a grand opening for that, working with the Lions Club, and thanks to the Lions Club and OTF for contributing funds towards that project to be opened. Capital projects, we're still working on some of the washrooms projects through the ease grant. We're just minor things now, some paint and some petitions in the washrooms, but the doors have been completed. So Princeton, Drumbo, and Plattsville will have push buttons on their doors now. They're accessible to get into. A few changes in the Plattsville washroom that people have to get used to, but they're singular washrooms now. But they're going good. Hopefully get that done in the next few weeks here with the painting. Arena operations, we're just getting ready for the winter season in the arena. We had the TSSA safety inspector come through, had no concerns, and just does on-site visits. So from the recreation programming part aside, we have done, we're working on the camp, an RFI to put out. It'll probably be out middle of September, 1st of September, we'll be putting an RFI out for camps. We did get feedback from the communities, and we're going to put that in the RFI as well. So we'll be preparing a grant for the Air Farmers Mutual Community Program, and this grant will be for a trail through the Drumbo Park. Just a stone dust trail throughout the park. A lot of people walk the park. It'll kind of be like the Princeton Trail. So staff have also worked with the Helping Hands Food Bank, and it's been moved into the Drumbo Park as well. So shelves have been put up. They have a key for that building now, and they'll be keeping their product in there. So yeah.
Any questions on the report? Not seeing any. I wrote a couple things down while you were talking. First of all, the Drumbo Park looks absolutely amazing. I've heard so many good comments about it there. I look forward to maybe discussions with the Drumbo Lions Club of possibly doing more of that same work. It's amazing. I really do like it. Just a question. I know you and I talked about it today, and I was going to ask you later, but I thought I'll just ask you now. I know there's been some comments about static in the Princeton Park, and I know we've talked about the possibility you could spray something on it or whatever. Just curious, was there anything in maybe Tina knows too, has there been anything in the Plattsville Park with the static, like when it came?
Yeah.
Same thing. Yes. Okay.
I don't know if it's gotten better, though.
Yeah. I know I did read online, and they said that's very common, that
Yeah.
static builds up. I know there was actually, I was told there was a couple families that come to Drumbo because they didn't like the static in Princeton. But anyway, I just was kind of curious. But it makes sense, right? You rub your feet on your carpet at home, you're going to get a zap. So I didn't know there was the same thing going on, and maybe we can look at spraying something on.
Yeah, fabric softener.
Yeah.
Fabric softener. I've done some research. Fabric softener, spray it over top, and real humid, dry days you can get more off it than other days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but eventually it's supposed to go away.
Yeah, that's what it said too.
I don't think
I
Plattsville's
don't
as
hear
bad.
about Plattsville anymore,
Yeah.
so.
No, I think Plattsville is not as bad as what it used
yeah.
to be, and it's been there for 2 years, and this one
Okay.
just opened
Yeah.
up. So.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Oh, and the
Sorry.
grand opening of the playground will be August 13th
Yep.
at the
Yep. Perfect.
Princeton Playground.
Yep. And what time is it at? I know I have it at my calendar.
5:30 till 8. There'll be
5:30.
live music, the barbecue.
And then there's a magician.
A magic show coming, and then they're going to do a dedication to the Robert Hill Cowan Trail as well.
Yep.
They came to council
Yep.
a year and a half ago to ask permission to dedicate that trail. So, and that's the Princeton Park Legacy Committee that did that, so.
All right. Anything else? Go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report CS 2616 be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and second, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. And on to your next.
Yeah, next report, Bright Playground Accessible Project. We applied back in March through OTF for an upgrade to the accessible playground for Bright.
We were awarded the money, funding for this project. It'll be $200,000. That'll go into this project. It'll be $12,000 from the township budget, which was approved in 2026. Staff are working on completing this project through a procurement and trying to get it done. We're not sure if we'll get it done this year yet, but that's kind of the goal. Like I said, OTF awarded us $200,000 for the project. Just got the agreement last week, so so staff are looking at different ways to do the project and come up with solutions for this project. Also, staff would like to request approval from the town, from council to be able to be a member of the Connecticut GPO program. This does not cost the township anything. It's a program that, it's a purchasing program. It's follows our procurement policy, and it's focused on Canadian manufacturers of items, and there are playground companies on this through them that we can use, and they take away the procurement for us. So it just makes it simpler for staff to move forward with it. So we're looking at doing that for this project as well. They've been around for a few years now, so it's a public sector organization. A lot of public sectors organizations and municipalities use them.
I think it's, I think I saw it at Roma, and it's very similar to the, I know it was.
Canoe.
Yeah, canoe
Yes.
process, yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I think
just
I
another-
actually grabbed some information on it one time and was reading about it a little bit.
Yeah.
We've done very well with canoe, I know that, for anything we've ever.
Yeah, canoe, and this one's just a newer one out there, so.
Sure.
So just need to get council permission for that too, along with the, moving forward with the accessible project for the Bright Park.
Okay. Any comments from council? Councilor Demers?
Just a question with respect to the Bright project, because there's not a service club in Bright, will there be, I heard rumblings that there might be an ad hoc committee put together to get some feedback from some folks in Bright. Is that taking shape? Is it necessary? And if it doesn't happen, I assume it'll just be all done in-house. Is that fair?
I've been talking to a few members of Bright.
Yeah.
Don't know if there's a committee going to be formed. Again, we've been in talks, staff have been in talks with some people from Bright, telling them what's happening, and they seem to be okay with what's happening. So, but at this time, we didn't have any plans for that. The only committee we're going to consult with is the Accessible Advisory Committee in Oxford County about this project. It'll just be, when we applied for the grant, it'll be accessible flooring, like our other parks, and we asked for a seesaw, a carousel, and a new play structure with ground features on it to for accessibility. So that's kind of the perimeter of the project. Yeah, we haven't talked to anybody, or nobody. We've talked to people. Nobody's come forward and said they'd like to start a committee. So
I was just going to offer my assistance because I participated in the Dornbo Lions Club one.
Yeah.
But if they're not doing anything formal, then
yeah,
that's fine too.
and with this using Connecticut, it'll be a bit different process. Like we might not go through as many tenders because we can work with the groups. So.
Good.
Okay, anything else from council? Oh.
Be it hereby resolved that report CS 2617 be received as information, and further that council authorize staff to participate in Cooperative Purchase Group Kinetic GPO per the township's procurement procedure bylaw.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Move by Councilor Demers, second by Councilor Young. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Before you run away, Trevor, I was going to do it later, but I thought I'll keep you up here. I was approached by somebody in the community. They wanted to keep anonymous, but they wanted me to give you a shout out for you going above and beyond your normal duties as our employee here. So whenever I hear it, I know I have for other departments as well. Whenever I hear it, I always like to pass that on here. So kudos to you. A person wishes to stay anonymous, but they wanted to make sure I brought it up at council meetings. So thank you for the work you do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next, Sarah.
Good afternoon, members of council. You have before you report DC 2611 for the lame duck and delegated authority during the 2026 election period. Nominations for the election period opened on May 1st, 2026, and nomination day is this August 21st, 2026, with voting opening in October and election day being October 26, 2026. The next term of council will be sworn in November 2026. As such, council may enter a lame duck position if fewer than 4 out of the current 5 members are returning for the next term. There are 2 times that this may occur: after nomination day, if it is known that fewer than 4 incumbents are returning, and after voting day based on the election results. Municipal Act sets out legislative restrictions if the municipality is in a lame duck position, and there are also certain exceptions. To ensure continuity of municipal operations during any lame duck period, staff are recommending to adopt Bylaw 2555-2026 to delegate specific authorities to designated staff from August 21st, being nomination day, until November 18th, 2026, being the swear-in date of council, if required. Staff will report any actions taken under the delegated authority bylaw, and staff will also 55-2026 being a bylaw to appoint and delegate authority in the event of a lame duck council as defined under Section 275 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, C25.
Now can I get a mover and a second, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Banbury. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, and our next report, our CEO, Josh.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to members of council. Currently, council remuneration is established through various processes, including the annual budget. We pull a little bit from the employee manual, which is kind of our standard HR policy. And most recently, council approved a council conference attendance policy in late 2025. So the purpose of this report was to take an overview of some of those existing policies to ensure that they agree with each other, and to propose some modest amendments through an updated specific council remuneration policy. We're finding this to be more standard across similar and comparable municipalities, and again, rather than having it just live customarily in the budget process, this formalizes that process. I'm going to maybe preface the report in saying that council remuneration is a really difficult thing for local councils, and that this council here is the only group of people that have the authority to meaningfully evaluate their own compensation. And part of the goal of this process was to give council tools to, avoid the criticism or the challenges that are associated with evaluating one's own compensation, and build some guardrails into that process that provide more clarity moving forward. So the 2 major recommendations within this remuneration policy are a standardized per diem framework, which would outline eligible meetings and duties performed outside of regularly scheduled council and committee meetings. So we draw a line in the sand on what's standard, what's included in the base rate, that compensation that's regularly advertised and reported on, and then we also specifically outline what's beyond that and what would be within the scope of a per diem framework. And then additionally, we offer an objective process for reviewing council remuneration prior to each term. So I'm going to focus on those individually. The first item, the per diem compensation. Every member of council receives the same compensation, largely regardless of how many meetings they attend, extracurriculars, conference attendance, etc. It's standard. The proposed policy introduces a standardized per diem structure with the goal of recognizing the additional time commitment associated with additional meetings or requirements outside of the regular base meetings. It establishes consistent expectations regarding eligible meetings, improves transparency and administrative consistency, and it reduces the need for ad hoc decisions on an annual basis regarding compensation. I'm going to read this from the report because I was happy with the point that it got across, but municipal councils are strengthened when individuals from a broad range of professions, backgrounds, and stages of life are able to seek elected office. A remuneration framework that recognizes significant commitments outside of regularly scheduled council and committee meetings may help to ensure that public service remains attainable for individuals who continue to maintain full-time employment, perhaps operate businesses, or have other personal and family commitments while serving their community. And I think the intent of this transition isn't to compensate members of council for every minute or hour of time devoted to council business, but instead it's, I think the main purpose of this is to remove any unnecessary barriers to participation, especially during an election period. We just want to ensure that the opportunity and the responsibility of serving at this table is as accessible to everybody as it possibly can be. And this is done by recognizing those significant commitments in some cases that can be experienced beyond the normal expectation of elected office. So at a high level, just for an example of kind of what would be outside the scope of a per diem or inside the scope of it, your standard meeting attendance, a meeting like this evening, would be included within the base rate. We've got our 22 meetings a year, 2 a month with the exception of July and August. All of those, there's no per diem compensation for that. But what we would look at including would be items such as council customarily has an annual budget meeting, which is a day-long event. Theoretically, somebody could have to take the day off work to attend that type of event, so we would have a half-day participation rate and a full-day participation rate. I should mention that we use numbers for those half-day and full-day rates that were quite a bit below even what some of our competitors are using. We thought as a stepping stone, as a starting point, this kind of kept it to be as palatable as possible in terms of the financial impact. But we'd be looking at $80 for a half-day meeting, which is under 3 hours, and $150 for a full-day meeting, which would be in excess of 3 hours. So if somebody attended the budget meeting on the Wednesday in the new year, members of council would receive an extra $150. If a member wasn't in attendance, they wouldn't receive that per diem rate. The same goes for conference attendance. Again, conferences are really valuable as are training sessions. We're hopeful that with having this consideration, it might lead to greater uptake among certain members of council that would otherwise be concerned about the opportunity cost of having to take a day off work, find childcare, et cetera, to attend something that's ultimately expanding their knowledge of our business. So that's item number 1 with respect to the per diems. The second one has to do with council remuneration review. I've touched on it a little bit, but at a high level, this process would see at the end of each term of council, the clerk would receive direction to undertake a market compensation review. Conveniently, the terms of the council term and the staff compensation review and market check line up, so we would have the ability to work with the consultant, or council could also task the clerk with undertaking the work themselves. It's fairly split among municipalities in terms of the process on that. But staff would compare council remuneration with comparable municipalities and prepare recommendations for the sitting council's consideration, and any approved changes with respect to remuneration would be effective for the next term. So this way, the sitting council is tasked with setting the remuneration for the subsequent council, and nobody can accuse the sitting council of giving themselves a raise. So that's kind of the high level of both of these items. Based on 2024 and 2025 data, looking at council conference attendance, special meetings, and training sessions, we anticipate, and using the proposed policy per diem rates of $80 for a half day, $150 for a full, we anticipate that the total annual budget impact will be less than $6,000 across all members of council in the year. Again, there's lots of variables in terms of some of our members don't attend as many conferences, et cetera. So a lot of information in this policy, but happy to answer any questions that council might have.
Okay, any questions from council at all? No? Just had one, just thinking off it. I was thinking, I know I'm on the police services board, but that's a paid position, and I know Bruce, the same yours, that's going to change anyway. But I'm just trying to make sure, because I know.
ROEDC is not.
Yeah. So is that excluded from this? Like the ones that aren't a paid position, are they excluded from this, or are they included in this?
Right, so through you, Mr. Mayor, 2 members of council, great question. We do have a provision within the policy that stipulates if they are compensated, it's obviously they're excluded. So if you're receiving compensation, that wouldn't be included. But as far as external appointments, acting on behalf of council, I think that would be included within the scope. In my experience, the clerk has maintained a registry of sort of eligible meetings. If there's ever any sort of gray area, we would bring it to council and have council finalize a decision on whether or not, again, our OEDC is the prime example of something that is a council appointment, external board. So, in my mind, I think we would count that as a per diem, being that they're representing council, but if there was any dispute or debate about it, it would be council's decision to make and
Yeah.
formalize with the clerk.
Because there's all kinds of little things, like I'm thinking, anything that's, like, realistically, the Drumbo Playground, we were part of the group, but that's an external, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want to kind of make sure going forward that we're on the same page. Some things you just, like, something like that, I don't believe that you should get paid for that position, but something like the ROEDC, it's something that, I think definitely we should look at it going forward.
If I could just expand on that
Sure.
too, very briefly, there is a review clause built into the policy as well, so council's automatically going to review this every term, and I
Okay.
suspect that we would create an inventory of those eligible meetings,
Sure.
and it'll be a growing document over time that
Sure.
we can continue to add on to, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Anything else from council?
I just have a comment, but not a
Yep. Okay, comment? Okay, we'll get to it in a second. Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report CAO 2622 be received as information, and that council approves the updated council remuneration and expense policy as attached to report CAO 2622, it being noted that the revised policy shall take effect for the next term of council.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Young, second by Councillor Banbury. Any comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. We've talked a lot about who sits at this table, and even when we talked about changing the times of the meetings to help accommodate people to that 5 o'clock. So when I read this, I thought I was happy to see that if anyone is watching this meeting that's considering running for a seat here, it will hopefully help exactly what Josh had mentioned, those people who may need to take off time or get childcare or whatever, and that maybe we can have a different, different diversity of people that can sit here. And anytime we go to those conferences or meetings, they benefit us in our role, but also our community. You make connections with people that benefit us in the big scheme of things as well. And so I think if someone had the choice to go do that conference, but had to take 2 days off of their work and lose that income, and find someone to help them with their home or their pet or their child. And then I've spoken with Josh in the past too about the cost that those conferences actually cost us to attend. Yes, you're reimbursed, but you are paying up front for things. And so if somebody had to take all that into consideration, it may not be viable for them to do. So I think while none of us sit here because of the money, it is a consideration when people are taking that time away from where they are actually making their income for their life. So I think it's a great start to look at that and support some of those people who may want to consider it.
It's exactly, I remember whenever I went to a conference, I always used to take my holidays. So I would take 2 or 3 days holidays, and yep, I had lots of holidays, but you consider that those are 3 days holidays that I wasn't be able to use with my family or whatever going forward. And if you can get some sort of compensation to make up for that, hopefully, you get more people that want to run that may not. Because I even think when I was as counselor, by the time I took an hour off work all the time, by the time you did that, plus missing to do this, probably didn't make very much money for it, which, I mean, ultimately, that wasn't the reason I got into it. I want to make a difference, but still, I don't think anybody should have to be financially out of their pocket to do business for the township. Exactly. So, okay, anybody else? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, reports from council members. Well, I got a bunch here. Anybody? You want me to go ahead?
They're probably on your list anyways.
Okay, well then why don't I read the list first, and then you guys decide if there's anything. Okay, so August 8th, we have a free barbecue and display of holidays and celebrations at the Plattsville Heritage at Chesterfield from 10 to 4. August 13th is the Princeton Playground Grand Opening and Trail Dedication to Robert Hill Cowan, and a barbecue, magic show, live music, and it's 5:30 till 8. Sunday, August 16th, is the Princeton Cemetery Decoration Day at 2:30, and I'll get back to that in a minute. August 15th and 16th is the Drumble Harvest Carnival at the Drumble Park. August 22nd is the Princeton Fire Grand Opening Barbecue and Tour of the Fire Hall from 10 to 1. Music in the park are Thursday nights in Plattsville from 5:30 to 7:30 till September 10th. Music in the park in Princeton, Thursday nights from 6:30 to 7:30 till September 3rd. That's the list I have, and I have one more if anybody else has anything. No? Just the one thing, I did send an email out. I got one response. I sent an email out about the Princeton Decoration Day of laying a wreath on behalf of council. I know I can't. I'll be at the Drumble Harvest Carnival working. Councillor Demers is at AMO. Anybody else? I know, Bruce, I think you've done it. I think I did it 1 year in the last.
Yeah, I think maybe Trevor did it last year. Did you do it last year, Trevor?
Yeah.
Okay. So is there anybody from council want to do it, or does Trevor want to do it again? And that's August 16th, Sunday. Okay, Wei?
Have a family reunion.
Okay, so I'll leave it to Bruce or Trevor.
Trevor's not there, I'll do it.
Okay, so do you want me to let them know that, Trevor, you'll do it?
Yeah, me and Bruce will be there for.
Okay,
We'll
all right.
fight it out.
I will let them know then. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, anybody else have anything else? Okay, I have one more. I know everybody wants to get out of here. I'll try and make this quick as I can. Councillor Demers approached me, I don't know what day it was, a couple days ago, about, because there's been a lot of social media about our food bank and dire straits it's kind of been in. The community have stepped forward amazingly, both financially and with food, so it's fantastic. Bright is doing a food drive for the next 2 weeks. Drumble's going to be doing one on the 23rd in town. So she mentioned to me about doing on the 23rd of declaring that Blandford-Blenheim Food Bank Day. So I thought it was a good idea. I have reached out to the Plattsville Lions Club to see if they want to be involved. I'd like to get every community involved. I don't know, Daryl, if maybe you can look into Wolverton. It doesn't have to be anything major. It can be as much as, you know, opening a spot up for a couple hours and you bring food over, or if you want to canvass the town and drive around, do whatever you want to. But I thought I would read something out, and we kind of declare that day. Okay? If that's okay with council, just making sure. Okay? I am pleased to recognize the outstanding work of the Blandford-Blenheim Helping Hands Food Bank and the incredible impact it's had on individuals and families throughout our community. In recognition of their important work, I'm declaring Sunday, August 23rd, 2026, as a significant day for Blandford-Blenheim Helping Hands Food Bank. I encourage all residents, business, and community organizations to join us in supporting the Blandford-Blenheim Helping Hands Food Bank through food donations, donating money, or volunteering their time. Every contribution helps make a meaningful difference for those facing food insecurity in our township. Follow Helping Hands Blandford-Blenheim Food Bank on Facebook and for information about how to get involved in the coming weeks. And like I say, it's been absolutely fantastic. I saw my phone buzz and somebody said, hey, where do I make a donation? So it's been going really, really well. So if we can maybe get that posted on our Facebook site as well, and hopefully the Air News is listening and they can get it in their paper as well. Okay? Anything else? No. Okay. Everybody's looking at me. Move on. Unfinished business, motions and notice of motions. Did you have something? Okay.
Just to give a little bit of, very briefly, some context to this. The reason why I'm bringing this notice of motion forward is to improve transparency and accountability for our residents. And as well as that, introduce a couple of tools that would be enshrined in our procurement policy that would provide this council and future councils with some deeper understanding of what our major capital projects cost, as well as sort of life cycle costs of capital items that we purchase. The idea being that it will help the councils support our decision making, so that we have more comprehensive information going forward. So yeah, that's where that's coming from. Whereas transparency, fiscal accountability, and long-term financial sustainability are core pillars of municipal governments within the Township of Blandford-Blenheim, and whereas council benefits from consistent and standardized reporting practices to support informed decision-making and effective stewardship of municipal assets and resources, and whereas the township's procedural bylaw establishes the framework through which information is presented to council and decisions are made, now therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to prepare an amendment to the township's procedural bylaw to incorporate the following reporting requirements. Number one, major capital project completion reporting, or post-mortem reporting. You've probably heard me talk about that before. A requirement that designated municipal capital infrastructure projects based on criteria to be established within the procurement bylaw be subject to a mandatory project closeout report to be presented to council within 60 days of substantial completion, and to include at a minimum a comparison of final project expenditures against the approved project budget. B, a summary and explanation of any significant financial scope, material, schedule, or timeline variances. C, identification of any unresolved deficiencies, warranty matters, or outstanding items. And D, key lessons learned, operational considerations, and recommendations intended to improve future capital project delivery, budgeting, procurement practices, and project management. Item 2, service level enhancement life cycle analysis. A requirement that any staff report recommending the introduction of a new municipal service or the enhancement or expansion of an existing service level include an analysis of A, anticipated life cycle costs associated with the proposal, B, expected operating and maintenance impacts, C, future capital replacement and renewal obligations, D, asset management implications, and E, any impacts on the township's long-term financial planning assumptions and asset management plan. The intent of this analysis is to support informed decision-making and ensure that municipal asset management information remains current, relevant, and reflective of council's strategic priorities and service delivery objectives.
Okay, and we'll discuss that at the next meeting. Can you email or somebody email that out to all of council, because there's a lot there for me to digest, so I can read it?
We'll take care of that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Councilor Demers. Okay, anybody else? New business? And we're going into closed.
Be it hereby resolved that council move into closed session under the authority of Section 239 of the Municipal Act at 6:19 PM to discuss CAO 2623, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, Section 239-2C, regarding proposed acquisition. B, CAO 2620, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, Section 239-2B, regarding Finance Department staffing update. And C, CAO 2621, labor relations or employee negotiations, Section 239-2D, regarding Public Works Department update.
Can I get a move in a seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Young, second by Councilor Demarest. All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Okay? And why don't we... Okay. Okay, we're back. Thank you, and go ahead, Sarah.
Be it hereby resolved that council does now adjourn from closed session and resume into open session at 6:57 PM and reports the following: that council provided direction to staff regarding reports CAO 2623, CAO 2620, and CAO 2621.
Okay, can I get a mover and a second, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Banbury. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, and now bylaws.
Be it hereby resolved that the following bylaws be read a first and second time. Bylaw 2555-2026, being a bylaw to appoint and delegate authority in the event of a lame duck council as defined under Section 275 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, C25. B, bylaw 2556-2026, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 1360-2002 as amended for ZN 12310. C, bylaw 2557-2026, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 1360-2002 as amended for ZN 12311, and bylaw 2558-2026, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Barnes. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. And a third reading.
Be it hereby resolved that the following bylaws be read a third and final time. A, bylaw 2555-2026, being a bylaw to appoint and delegate authority in the event of a lame duck council as defined under Section 275 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, C25. B, bylaw 2556-2026, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 1360-2002 as amended, ZN 12310. C, bylaw 2557-2026, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 1360-2002 as amended for ZN 12311. And D, bylaw 2558-2026, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
Okay, can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Young, second by Councillor Demers. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Anything under other? Nope, and adjournment.
Whereas business before council has been completed at 7 PM, be it hereby resolved that council adjourn to meet again on Wednesday, September 2nd, 2026 at 4 PM.
I get a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Barnes. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried.